Welcome to this explainer on the Peconaqri framework. Today, we're unpacking something genuinely fascinating: the carefully engineered rules designed to share a revolutionary educational model freely without completely destroying its reputation in the process. You know, when you create an incredible learning system, your first instinct is just to give it to the world, right? But how do you ensure that when someone actually claims to be using your system, they're delivering the high-quality experience you designed, and not just slapping your logo on something entirely different? Jin Lee, the creator of the Peconaqri Mentor Cell, realized that while wide adoption is the whole point, wide adoption without clear boundaries is a recipe for absolute disaster. To really understand why this matters, think about the famous Montessori problem. It's the ultimate cautionary tale of a method so incredibly influential that the name just became generic. It's a brilliant educational method, but because the name lost its trademark protection in many regions, parents today who are looking for a faithful, highly structured Montessori program can't easily distinguish it from a standard daycare that just bought a few wooden blocks and borrowed the word. Peconaqri's founder absolutely wants this new AI-augmented mentor model to spread everywhere, but they are determined not to let the name lose its meaning along the way. Okay, let's quickly look at our agenda for today. First, we'll look at idea versus identity. Second, the structural mechanics. Then we'll dive into the three tiers. Tier 1, the open PMC Commons. Tier 2, Peconaqri Canon Users. And finally, Tier 3, the licensed Peconaqri network. All right, Section 1, idea versus identity. So to really grasp this framework, we first have to separate protecting an educational idea from protecting a brand identity. And this perfectly illustrates that core ethos. On the one hand, copyright law and Creative Commons licenses apply to the actual documents published by Peconaqri. That means anyone can share, adapt, and implement the underlying educational methods for free. The ideas themselves, totally open. But on the other hand, we have strict trademark law protecting the brand names, terms like the Cube of Life, the NPC/PC framework, or the Peconaqri Quest Cycle. Basically, the ideas are a gift to the world, but the identity is fiercely guarding, so it continues to signal real, consistent quality to parents and students. Moving on to Section 2, the structural mechanics. The core engine of this system relies on mentor-led cells, organizing students into buddy pairs, integrating AI tutoring, and using a structured 4-phase project cycle that runs for about 10 weeks. It also heavily features individual reflection and a whole-life education approach. Now, these are pedagogical concepts, right? They're educational mechanics that anyone, anywhere, can independently implement for free in their own programs. You literally don't need permission to use small groups, buddy pairs, or AI tutors. Which brings us to Section 3, and the first of our operational levels, Tier 1, the open PMC Commons. Right, so this tier is built for people who want that powerful pedagogical structure we just talked about, but who want to operate entirely without the branded Peconaqri vocabulary. This is an absolutely perfect fit for homeschoolers, community organizations, or religious schools. Let's say you want to integrate the buddy pairs and the 10-week project cycle into a specific religious tradition. Well, Tier 1 gives you the freedom to take those mechanics and seamlessly overlay your own worldview right on top of them. But here's the deal for Tier 1 users. It's a very clear binary rule. You can freely use and adopt the documents. You can use generic terms like mentor cell, buddy pair, or reflection practice as long as you give proper attribution. But, and this is a big but, you are strictly prohibited from using specific canon terms like the Cube of Life or the Peconaqri mantra. You absolutely cannot use the logos or claim any official affiliation with the brand. You get the engine for sure, but you do not get the paint job or the badge. Let's step it up to Section 4, Tier 2, Peconaqri Canon Users. Now, Tier 2 is a significant shift. This is the natural home for independent mentors, maybe someone running just 1 or 2 cells out of their home, or parent cooperatives who actively want to tell the world, hey, we're utilizing the official Peconaqri resources. They aren't just taking the generic mechanics anymore. They're actually using the specific branded tools to teach, and they want to publicly attribute that use. Because they're stepping closer to the brand, the rules evolve. Tier 2 operators are allowed to reference specific tools by name in their curriculum. They can say, our program uses the Cube of Life, or link to the public resources. However, the boundary is still incredibly firm. They cannot put the word Peconaqri into their registered business name or their center's name. No Peconaqri Learning Center of Cityville. And you definitely cannot present yourself as a quality audited or certified center. You're a user of the tools, not an official franchise. And there's a massive ironclad obligation that comes with this tier. The worldview agnostic commitment is non-negotiable. So what does that actually mean? Well, the official Peconaqri Canon is designed to be secular and adaptable, not tied to anyone's specific religion. If a Tier 2 operator decides they want to overlay a strong religious or philosophical worldview onto the program, which, again, is totally fine to do in education, they must instantly drop back down to Tier 1. They have to strip away all the Canon branding and go back to generic terms. Basically, if you use the brand names, you must teach the brand's agnostic ethos. Finally, Section 5, the top level. Tier 3, the Licensed Peconaqri Network. This level is definitely not for casual users or fully online programs. Tier 3 applies exclusively to recurring physical mentoring spaces. We're talking about centers where mentors and students meet in person for scheduled sessions. To reach Tier 3, operators must enter into a formal license agreement, undergo specific quality reviews, and pay applicable license fees. This is the tier where the brand is making a direct, heavily vetted promise to parents about the quality and consistency of the education happening inside those walls. Because Tier 3 operators unlock the ultimate perks, the ability to officially name their school after the brand and proudly display that visual logo, their obligations are incredibly strict. They have to guarantee the delivery of the full 4-phase project cycle to every single student. They must maintain that worldview agnostic delivery we just talked about, and, crucially, they are subject to ongoing quality audits. If they fail to meet these standards, their license to use the name can and will be suspended or revoked. And to ensure this high standard of quality across the license network, the operational standards dictate the environment itself. Official cells have to maintain intimate, highly focused learning environments. They're ideally aiming for a golden ratio of just 6 to 8 students per mentor, with the maximum strictly capped at 12. This level of intimacy is absolutely crucial to ensure that the buddy pairs, the AI tutoring, and the mentor-led discussions actually work the way they were designed to. It's a fascinating irony, isn't it? To preserve a truly open educational method, must we aggressively protect its name? Well, the Peconaqri policy suggests that the answer is a resounding yes. If you want to share your educational genius with the world for free, like the open PMC Commons in Tier 1, you literally have to build a fortress around your brand identity in Tiers 2 and 3, just so the name always means exactly what it's supposed to mean. So, thinking about your own educational journey, which of these 3 Peconaqri tiers do you think best fits your educational mission? It's definitely something to chew on if you're looking to integrate next-generation learning into your own community. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.